Welcome to Gulfstream Park. It is February 22nd, 2014. It is Fountain of Youth Day. Christina Bostonak is here with our man, Mike Welsh from the Daily Racing Forum. And Mike, we got a hot one on tap today.
Yeah, it's a great day. Boy, it seemed like the meet just started. And here we are at the Fountain of Youth already and getting closer and closer to the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. But this is a great card today, a great betting card, a lot of wide open races. A lot of big name horses on the program as well. The return of Normandy Invasion, a super 3-year-old allowance race, all leading up to the Fountain of Youth, which is going to give us some key contenders for the Florida Derby in 5 weeks.
And speaking of the Florida Derby, a great sponsor of the Fountain of Youth today is Bessalou Stables. They also sponsor the Florida Derby. Such a great supporters here at Gulfstream Park. But Mike, we also have that Rainbow Six. There's a carryover, $1.2 million. That starts in race 7 today. And before we get into the card, Mike, I know that you've got some news of what's been going on in the morning here.
Yeah, Mucho Macho Man had his final local work today before heading out to California for the big cap at Santa Anita in 2 weeks. Just won an easy 5/8 this morning in 102 and change. He had a near perfect work here last week. It was a fast work. It was an easy work, but it was a fast work. So Kathy Ritvo on top of shipping tomorrow. I didn't want to do too much with him today. They actually took him out about 4 paths off the rail into the stretch to make sure he didn't do too much running. And like I said, he looked great. He's looked great here. He's training even better coming out of his easy win here in the Sunshine Millions that he did going in. He's going out to California in terrific form, and I think he's going to be the horse to beat out there.
And Adina Springs also bought an interest into Mucho Macho Man. He is by Macho Uno, who is a very well-known and regarded stallion and runner for Adina Springs. So those are some of the developments this week. But Mike, let's get into today's card. We've got we have a lot of ground to cover. A 12-race card on tap, and for race 1, it is a 75,000 allowance optional claiming event. It is 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. There is a scratch, number 4 and also number 13. And my top selection in there, I went with number 5, Scorched Cat from the Kelly Breen barn. And this one comes out of, I thought, a pretty decent third place effort, just beaten a half length. And that was on January 12th. And the horse that beat him that day, Medal Count, is running in the big one today in the later on in the card in the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, we have a lot of wide open grass races today. We start right off with this one. I took number 1, All Tied Up. This is a race written for horses that have not won a race other than maiden, claiming, or starter. This horse has actually won 2 races, but his last win was a starter allowance race, and it allowed him to become eligible for this race. And he looks like a horse that can close into what figures to be a pretty legitimate pace. He's well posted down on the inside, and he is in good form right now, and he's trained by Todd Pletcher. So Chart Topper is the one he's going to have to catch. He's the speed of the speed. He was a brilliant winner of his maiden race going 5/8 of a mile. Now he stretches out. According to my colleague Mike Vesey, he's training lights out since that victory up at Palmettos. His last work was in company with Brian Lynch's Hampstead Heath, who was in the stakes race today. He was a grade 2 placed horse, and this horse apparently held his own working with Hampstead Heath. The only caveat I had in that 5/8 race at the end, he was drifting pretty badly, so he's got to go 2 turns today. So we'll see if he can hold that last turn and keep a straight line and get 7.5 furlongs.
And I see we both threw on number 11, Divine Oath, and that was the other horse from the Todd Pletcher barn, and the 11 post kind of tough.
Yeah, post position concerns in 7.5 furlong races outside. When I picked these races, Divine Oath and School on a Hill were both horses I considered in here, but they were in 11 and 12 at the time. 2 scratches now will help them. They're in 9 and 10, so it'll make it a little easier, but still outside, short run to the first turn. It's like the 1 1/16 and 1 1/8 races on the dirt. You really have to overcome a lot when you break outside in those races.
You sure do. On to the second race on the card, which is a maiden special weight event. It is for 3-year-olds going 6 furlongs on the main track. And my top selection in here, I went with number 7, Indian Fighter. This is a 3-year-old colt by Indian Charlie, is making his debut for Mike Marina. And Mike Marina, his numbers, it's from a limited sample, but they're pretty good with his first-time starters, and Indian Charlie as well.
Yeah, yes, Mike Marino has been very good, not only locally over the past several winters, but in New York as well with first-time starters. This horse has done most of his training on the farm, so we haven't had a good look at him. He did come here a couple of times. Last time he He worked here. He showed a good speed, and he did it under Walter Blum Jr. was the exercise rider that day. And Indian Fighter went, I think, 46 and change and galloped out okay. So you know this horse is going to come ready to go. You know he's got speed. I think this horse is going to come up with a lot of steam. I think he's going to be well bet in the mutuals. He's going to have to run well, though, to be tuned into bow, though. This horse's last race was really, really good. He finished second to a Todd Pletcher, well-meant, even money first to name Anchor Down, and ran a 90 buyer that day. So they're going to probably have to run an 85, 87 buyer to beat him in here if he can repeat that last race, and he's well posted on the outside. Social Inclusion is a horse I'm throwing in just off his last work. That 45 and change you see in the form is absolutely correct. They do tend to work fast from the gate here because they have that long 3/8 of a mile straight run, but he broke alertly, opened up 4 or 5 lengths immediately on the other 2 horses in the gate with him, or 3 horses that morning, and he went well without a lot of pressure, but breaking from the rail in the afternoon's a different story. We'll see if he can come out of there. If he does, he's probably going to show speed. And one thing I do want to say is the main track was really, really fast this morning for workouts. It's been that way for a couple of weeks now. You really need to be on the lead or close up, I think, in most of these dirt races, unless there's a hellacious speed duel up front.
Yeah, it sure does. On to the third race on today's card, which is a 25,000 allowance optional claiming race. It is a 1.16 on the turf course. There is a scratch, number 12, and that's Red Vine. I went with number 1, Kid Lightning, from the Chad Brown barn, coming into this off of a pretty good closing third place effort, beaten only a length, and that was back on January 11th. But Mike, I see you went with another horse that I actually used in among my top selections, but not on top.
I took Honor the Kid. He's coming off a layup. I thought the race he came out of in New York when he ran many months ago was better horses that he was in with than the ones that have been running here. So I took a shot. The connections are so hot. Castellano, Mike Maker, and the Ramseys. This horse has worked well enough in preparation for his return. I'm just kind of going on the hot barn theory in a wide open race. Kid Lightning's logical. Finished well coming in off a race off the layoff. I think he's going to need to lay a little closer to the pace today than he did last time, and he worked well, according to Mike Vesey, in company with Coup de Gras, one of Chad Brown's top 3-year-olds, and that was on the main track. So I look for Kid Lightning to be the horse to beat.
On to the fourth race on the card. It is a 25,000 allowance optional claiming. It is a mile on the main track. And, my pick in there is number 1, Normandy Invasion. This one finished second behind Verrazano in last season's Wood Memorial, was 4th in the Kentucky Derby in a very sloppy renewal of the Kentucky Derby, has been off since that Derby effort, has been training pretty well, and Mike, I think he's the class of the field.
Well, he definitely is that. A lot of people have been waiting anxiously for Normandy Invasion to finally make it back to the races. A lot of people think that arguably he was the best horse in the Derby that day, that maybe he moved a little too soon. The Derby took a lot out of him. He never made it back to the races, but he's been training exceptionally well up at Palmettos, according to the DRF Clocker report. The lone caveat, and I know I talked to Chad about this and he was not happy, to draw post position 1, but hopefully he'll break out of there, get some position, and his class will carry him. If I'm making multiple wagers in here, though, I want to use the number 3 as well. This horse ran extremely well in his debut. Broke slow, raced wide, still won going away in a hugely impressive effort. He, too, has been training well at Palmettos, and I think if Normandy Invasion stubs his toe anywhere along the line in here, it just comes up a little bit short, maybe this one's the one to beat.
Yeah, and I spoke to Michelle Nevin yesterday, and she thought he was doing pretty well as well. So that will be one to look forward to. On to the 5th race on the card. It is a maiden special weight event. It is for 3-year-olds going 1.1 miles on the main track. There is one scratch, number 7, Woodfield Springs, and there's a pick 4 starts in there. And I went with number 2, Global Strike. There's a 3-year-old Smart Strike colt from the Todd Pletcher barn, the Mare Grade 1 Stakes winner in Argentina. And he comes out of a pretty nice race last time and finishing behind, I think, a pretty nice horse named Tonalist. Yeah,
I think a lot of people are going to go for Global Strike. I look for this horse to be around 6-5 today. But you're right. I mean, he ran a big race behind Tonalist, who's one of the ones to beat in that huge 3-year-old allowance, the 6th race coming up next. But Global Strike ran well, no match for the winner, but it was only the 2nd start of his career. The 1st start was on grass, and he really ran a lot better than it looks on paper because he was hung very wide all the way around. third start of his form cycle, well posted on the inside. If he just moves forward off his last race, he's going to stand a lot of beating in here. Probably going to be a single on a lot of people's pick 4 tickets. Blarp, I thought, is eligible to improve. This is also the third start of his form cycle. Going turf to dirt for Bill Mott. I like Blarp and strong stipulation to fill out the exacta behind Global Strike.
Yeah, I like strong stipulation as well, and I used both of those. On to the 6th race on the card. It is a $75,000 allowance optional claiming. It is a 1.16 on the main track, and no scratches thus far. Larry Colmus will be on in just a few minutes to give us all the updated scratches and changes for today's card. However, I went with number 6, Constitution. And there are a bunch of tappets in here, Mike, and this is one of the tappets that I went for. And I liked that last race. We can have a look at that at the start of that latest effort. And he didn't really have a great break, Mike, but he finished up really well.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Yeah. I mean, you're going to watch him break well behind the field. I mean, everybody who took all the, you listened to all the steam and took even money on this. So as you see right now,
I thought he had no shot.
He's 5 or 6 lengths behind the leaders, including the horse he eventually ran down and beat in here. So this was a huge effort for Constitution. You watch him; he rushed up the rail. You'd think he'd have nothing left through the stretch, but he dug in gamely and managed to get the win. Now he's going to stretch out 2 turns though for the first time. He's probably going to be loose in the lead. The fast racetrack should help him a lot. He's been working sensationally up there, according to Mike, since that last race. So there's a lot to like about him. You got to be a little bit worried, though, about the break again. If he breaks slow and has to rush to make the lead, he's going to be hard-pressed to hold on against all the talent in this field. And this field is full of talent. His stablemate Matterhorn won in his only previous start. Not only did he beat Harpoon in there, excuse me, yeah. He also beat Tonalist, who finished 4th. Tonalist flattered the effort by coming back and winning so impressively here last time when getting Berlinkas and Lasix. I think Tonalist was as impressive a maiden winner we've seen here, especially doing it going a distance of ground. So there's a lot of ways you can go in here. I took a shot with Matterhorn, hoping he can move forward. He took a lot of dirt in that race, which I liked. He was in between horses coming to the quarter pole and still managed to finish up and outgame Harpoon once he got loose for the stretch run. So he's got a lot of talent, no doubt. I like Matterhorn. Tonalist, obvious. Constitution, got to use him. Wicked Strong was highly regarded coming into the Holy Bull. Ran terribly. Couldn't see an excuse. I don't know if they have an excuse. But since then, the clockers up at Palmetto said he's trained sensationally up there as well. So you got to respect Wicked Strong. You got to respect Mexicoma coming off a sneaky good effort in the Breeders' Cup. This is one great race, and we're going to see, I'm sure, at least 1, 2, maybe 3 of these come back in the Florida Derby.
It's stakes caliber is what it is. It looks like
it's almost as good a race as the Fountain of Youth. There's a little less experience among the horses in here, but certainly a lot of talent. Yeah.
On to the 7th race, and it is a 62.5 allowance optional claimer. It is a 1.16 on the turf course, and we have 3 scratches, number 3, 6, and 7. And that race kicks off the Rainbow 6. There is a carryover, $1.2 million in that race. I went with number 5, Comp Pacific, and was second behind a nice graded stakes winner named Charming Kitten last time out, Mike. And I think that he'll move forward off of that effort.
Yeah, he didn't really get a good trip in his last start, and he was off a couple of 2.5, 3 months. He got shuffled back on the turn and then came running very well at the end. I think this horse is sitting on the best race of his career. If he can get a clean trip, I think his best race would be good enough to win the year. I like Hey Leroy at a big price. This horse is in incredible form. I don't know if he can keep running. He seems to run every week and a half or 2 weeks, and when he doesn't run, he works in the morning. But those starter allowance races he's in are actually as fast as, if not faster, from a numbers standpoint, than these 2 other thans. He was second behind Long Hunter, second behind Mr. Online, who's going to be one of the favorites in the Canadian. I think if he gets a trip, he's going to be a major factor. And one thing you do notice about this race, not a lot of speed in here. By Flash, looks like the speed, now that Awfully Fast is scratched, might be able to get brave if he gets on the lead and sneak in for a share at a big price.
Looking ahead to the 8th race on the card, it is another maiden special weight, a 1.16 miles on the turf course, and it kicks off the pick 5, scratch the also eligibles 15 and 16, and my top selection in there, number 7, Dylan Ward from the Brian Lynch barn, and I think he's a really nice pedigree, very nice grass family actually, and he has a half to a stakes winning brother, and his races, Mike, he's been second in his last 3 starts, but I think the horses that he's finished behind are really nice horses.
And he had a terrible trip last time too. He got taken back well off a very slow pace, and finally when he got set to run, he finished. When he was allowed to run, he finished well, but was left with a lot too much to do. Hopefully he'll stay a little closer, trip out a little better in the air. Shaky nod for me in this wide open race. I also like Sami a little bit at a price. He's a question mark going from dirt to turf. He's never run on the turf. He's finished 4th in all 3 starts, but he's had excuses, at least by me, for me, watching his replays. You can make excuses in each of those races. Last time, from post 12, going 2 turns behind Tonalist, he made a middle run and then flattened out a little bit at the end, but I thought that was a really good race. If this horse can grass, look out for him at a big price in here.
And on to the 9th race, which is the Grade 2 Devona Dale. It is a 1.16 miles on the main track, and it's 4 3-year-old fillies. And my top pick in there, I went with number 3, Only for You, and stretching out for the first time. And last time ran impressively, I thought, 7 furlongs, trying a 1.16 miles. And Mike, I'm not really as worried in terms of not only her pedigree, the way she's been running, the way she's been doing. We can take a look at that her win in the Grade 2 Forward Gal, but I think that she's capable of stretching out.
Yeah, she wound up finding herself on the lead in there. I didn't think Todd thought she'd be in front. But when the horse on the rail, the one horse didn't break, she got loose on the lead, and she made good use of that pace over a fast racetrack that carried speed. And here you see she's maintaining a pretty good margin of victory over Aurelius Bell, who ran really well, ran as well as she could, but was no match for Only for You. The extra distance, of course, is a bit of a question, but Todd doesn't seem concerned. Like I said, the track's pretty fast. Stretching out to 2 turns, she should be loose on the lead in the air, and maybe the track will carry her again today. I mean, at a short price, going this distance for the first time, not an ideal betting situation, but I got to pick someone in here, so I went with Only for You. For a price, I'm throwing in house rules. I think this horse is getting better and better watching her train in the morning. Her last race was really good. I mean, from the 12 hole, she circled 5 wide on the turn and then drew off to win pretty impressively. Has come back to work well since then. If this race starts to collapse a little bit at the end, she might be there to pick up the pieces. And who isn't rooting for the Chief to win a Grade 2 race? Penwith, first-time Lasix. You got to respect that factor for trainer Kieran McLaughlin. This horse has run well without Lasix. So
yeah, exactly
with
right.
Lasix. And stop charging Maria. Bit of a question. We know she's got the class, but she's been away. She's going to chase today outside her stablemate. We'll see if she's ready off the bench for a big effort or if she's going to need one.
Looking ahead to the 10th race on the card, which is the Grade 3 Canadian Turf. And it is a mile on the main track, and there is a scratch, number 4, and that's Fredericksburg. And I went with number 3, Ride-a-Luke, and from the Gary Contessa barn. I saw this horse schooling just the other day. He looks like an absolute monster. He really does now. And he is coming off of a layoff, hasn't raced since August 17th. He was a well-beaten 11th in the Secretariat. That's a Grade 1. But I think, Mike, if he runs back to earlier form, and if he runs the way he looked the other day, I think he's going to be really tough to beat. Now, in all fairness, he's a perfect 2 for 2 here at Gulfstream Park, and I like that too. Yeah,
he loves the course, and a mile's his distance. There's no doubt about it. But it's been a while since he's put in a really good race. He has been training well. There's a lot of speed in here. Mr. Online is going to entertain him early if they want the lead with Ride-a-Luke. I just took a shot in here. I mean, I don't think this is the greatest Grade 3 in the world. I went for Abtal. I thought this horse was very impressive in his U.S. debut. I know trainer Kieran McLaughlin didn't think he was cranked up 100% that day, and yet he still managed to circle the field and beat an okay field, not a field of this caliber, but a pretty good field. You look back on his form, he's got good Group 3 races in Europe to go back to. He should improve. If the pace gets really hot, he's going to be a price. I wish he was drawn a little further inside, and I'm sure so does Kieran. But Abtal's my top choice.
Yeah, he's a nice horse, and that horse you mentioned, he won a Group 2, and he beat a horse, French 15, who came back and won a Group 1 in France as well. So really nice. He's been keeping very nice company.
Yeah, if you're playing the Rainbow Six, though, Mr. Online could win. Ride-a-Luke, Salto, obviously. I think Bad Debt is a good chance in here. Guy's Reward, you can't knock him off that last race. So a very interesting race for the pick six.
It sure is. On to the 11th race, which is the Besalou. It's a Grade 2 event, the Besalou Fountain of Youth Stakes. There is one scratch and number 6, and that's Caziguapo. And I went with number 1, Commissioner. He's a son of AP Indy, really nice pedigree. And he's a half to a very fast horse named Laugh Track, who finished second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. If you see this horse, however, there's nothing sprint-like about him. And Mike, we can just have a look at that race. That Commissioner defeated Top Billing. That was in his latest race. Top Billing is also in this particular event, but he's drawn the 12 hole.
Yeah, and you see Top Billing behind, right outside of Commissioner. They're rallying together. Top Billing got squeezed a little bit, but they're on even terms right here, and Commissioner is just going to outfinish him by about a head. So, you know, little to choose between the two of them here. I was surprised to see in the lines the first Derby watch Mike Watchmaker has a Commissioner at 20-1 and Top Billing only at 8-1 or something.
Wow, okay.
I don't think there's that much difference between them. I don't like when people ask me who my Derby horse is now. I said, see me in 2 months. But I think out of this field, my top 2 in this field for the Derby would be Top Billing or Commissioner. But today is not the Derby. It's a mile and a 16th. Over a speed favoring track. I'm going with the little value General A-Rod. This horse ran really well to win the Gulfstream Park Derby. Had the effort flattered when the horse he beat, Wildcat Red, came back and ran so well, winning the Hutchison. He's been training extremely well coming out of that race. Should get a great trip. I look for him to sit third, right behind Wildcat Red and Almost Famous. Maybe he can get the jump on Commissioner and Top Billing. Top Billing, if he was drawn further inside, I'd have picked him, but post 11 now, a major disadvantage in races at a mile and a 16th with a very short run to the first turn. Joel Rosario is going to really have to use all his talents to get Top Billing the right trick. And Commissioner, you know, if he won here, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. Dropping back to a mile and a 16th is a bit of concern for Todd Pletcher, coming off a couple of mile and an eighth wins, but this horse is very talented, and I look for him down the Derby road to get even better.
Yeah, and Shug McGahee, who trains at Top Billing, he'll need a run like another horse that he trains, Orb, who won this race last year and went on to win the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. So maybe they'll get, hopefully they'll get lucky later on today. On to the 12th and final race on the card. It is a 75,000 maiden claiming event. It is a mile and a 16th on the turf course. 2 scratches, number 1, number 15. And Mike, it seems like we've landed on the same horse, and that's number 9, Ghost to Ghost. And coming into this off of a 3rd place effort, was favored in his last 2 and beaten in his last 2. However, I think I picked him this time.
That concerns me a little bit. He just had such a terrible trip last time, though.
Yeah.
Came running late after getting bothered early. And again, when in doubt, why not go to Castellano and Maker in these situations? You got a couple of drop downs in here. Great Minds is one of them, and Dolan's Joy. I think they're both contenders. And if you're looking for a bomb, Colonito for Gary Contessa has been the workmate of Ride-a-Luke, and apparently is working very well with Ride-a-Luke up there. So might be a sleeper with blinkers on.
And that's it. That's our card for today. And just a reminder, folks, we do have that carryover in the Rainbow Six. We're up over $1.2 million. That starts in race 7, and a couple of guarantees in the late pick 4, $200,000 guarantee, and also the pick 5 is a $100,000 guarantee. So much happening. Fantastic card here at Gulfstream. I will return later with our man Ron Nicoletti. Thank you, Mike.
I don't know if I have any winners today, but I'm going to enjoy this card anyway. Great day of racing. Good luck, everybody.
Folks, stick around. We got a great one on tap.